The demonic possession of Anneliese Michel. The first time I saw her, I was taken aback by her haunted eyes. Anneliese Michel was a girl like no other. Her case drew me to the small town in Germany, where whispers of demonic possession and the tragic death of a young woman had captured the public's morbid fascination. I was a journalist, known for my investigations into the dark and unexplained, but this story felt different. This was no ordinary tale of terror. Anneliese was just a child when it all began. The family home, a quaint and quiet place, was the backdrop to a series of terrifying events. When I visited, a chilling air hung about the place, like it was somehow alive with an unholy presence. I could feel it creeping along my spine as I walked through the door, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet. Anneliese's mother, Anna Michel, met me in the doorway, her face a portrait of exhaustion and despair. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice a whisper like a leaf caught in the wind. "I hope you can understand the truth of what happened here." We sat in the dimly lit living room, the air thick with the scent of old wood and something acrid that I couldn't quite place. As Anna began to recount the events, the shadows in the room seemed to stretch and writhe with each word, playing tricks on my eyes. "It started when she was 16, Anna began, her hands trembling as she spoke. "At first, it was small things. Anneliese would hear voices. She said they were telling her she was damned, that she would rot in hell. We thought she was just stressed from school, but then it got worse." Her voice cracked, and I could feel the weight of her sorrow pressing down on us both. Anneliese's descent into madness, or possession, depending on who you asked, was a slow and painful ordeal. Anna showed me photographs of her daughter before it all began, a smiling, vibrant young woman with a future full of promise. It was hard to reconcile that image with the pale, gaunt figure in the pictures taken during her final days. Anneliese started having seizures, Anna continued, her eyes distant as if she were reliving every agonizing moment. Doctors said it was epilepsy. But the medicine, it didn't help. She'd scream at night, talk in voices that weren't her own. Strange things happened around the house. Crosses turned upside down. Shadows where there should be none. Anna paused, looking over my shoulder at something I couldn't see. Her eyes grew wide, and a shiver ran through me as I turned to follow her gaze. Nothing. Just a dark corner of the room, but it felt as if something unseen was lurking, waiting. "That's when we sought help from the church," Anna said, snapping me back to the story. "Father Renz and Father Alt believed she was possessed. They conducted 67 exorcisms. 67. The number hung in the air, a reminder of the relentless struggle Anneliese had endured. Each session lasted hours, filled with prayers, chants, and the tormented screams of a girl trapped between two worlds. The priests were convinced they were fighting a legion of demons within her. She was a warrior, Anna said, tears streaming down her cheeks. She believed in God, believed she was chosen to suffer for the sins of others. But those nights, those nights were filled with horrors I cannot describe. I shuddered at the thought of what those nights must have been like. The very air in this house felt heavy with echoes of the past, the walls bearing silent witness to unspeakable acts. It was then that I heard it, a low, guttural growl emanating from the hallway, sending chills down my spine. Anna jumped, her face going pale as she clutched the crucifix around her neck. "It's happening again," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. "It's never truly left." The room seemed to close in on me, the shadows deepening, pressing against my sanity. I had come to uncover the truth, but now I felt trapped in a nightmare of Anneliese's making. Was this mere superstition, or had something malevolent truly taken hold of this girl and her family? As I prepared to delve deeper into the mystery, I knew I was only scratching the surface. What lay beneath was a truth more terrifying than I could have ever imagined. Anneliese Michel's story was far from over, and the real horror was yet to come. I returned to the Michel household the next day, determined to uncover more about Anneliese's harrowing story. The events of the previous day had left me shaken, but also intrigued. What had truly transpired in this house? Were the tales of demonic possession merely the result of a troubled mind, or was something more sinister at play? As I approached the house, the sky hung overcast, casting a gloomy shadow over the village. The air was thick with anticipation as I stepped inside, greeted once again by Anna Michel. Her eyes were heavy with a mix of fear and fatigue, but she seemed resolute to share her daughter's story. "Thank you for coming back," she said, her voice weary but grateful. "There's something you need to see." Anna led me down a narrow hallway lined with family photographs, happy moments captured before the darkness took hold. But one photograph caught my eye, Anneliese, standing with her family, a serene smile on her face. Yet, if you looked closer, there was something unsettling about her eyes. They seemed to stare right through you, as if knowing a secret too terrible to reveal. At the end of the hallway was a small room, the door slightly ajar. As Anna pushed it open, I felt a cold draft sweep over me, raising goosebumps on my arms. The room was sparsely furnished, with only a bed, a desk, and a small window that barely let in any light. On the walls, religious icons hung, some tilted, others scorched, like they had been subjected to an unseen force. "This was Anneliese's room," Anna said softly, stepping inside. "She spent most of her final months here." A sense of unease settled over me as I surveyed the room. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, as if it held the residue of Anneliese's torment. My eyes were drawn to a tattered journal on the desk, its pages yellowed with age. Anna hesitated before picking it up, her hands trembling slightly. "She wrote in this until she could no longer hold a pen," she said, offering it to me. "Perhaps it can help you understand." As I opened the journal, a chill ran through me. The entries began innocuously enough, a young girl's musings about school and friends. But soon, they devolved into frantic scribbles and disjointed sentences that hinted at a mind unraveling. June 1975, I hear them. The voices won't stop. They're getting louder, and I can't make them go away. God, help me. August 1975, they come at night. I can feel them crawling under my skin, whispering their terrible lies. I'm scared. So scared. October 1975, Father says it's not me. It's them. But I don't know what's real anymore. Am I possessed, or am I just losing my mind? The entries became more erratic, filled with drawings of twisted faces and eyes that seemed to follow you from the page. Each word, each image, spoke of a mind caught in a desperate battle between faith and fear, reality and nightmare. As I absorbed the contents of the journal, a sudden noise from outside the room made me jump, a loud bang, like something heavy falling. Anna gasped, clutching my arm. It's starting again, she whispered, her voice laced with terror. I stepped out into the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound seemed to emanate from the basement, a place Anna had warned me was best left undisturbed. But I couldn't resist the pull of the unknown, the promise of answers lurking in the darkness. The basement door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase leading into shadows. The air was damp and cold as I descended, each step echoing ominously around me. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting an eerie glow on the walls. Reaching the bottom, I found myself in a cramped, cluttered space filled with old furniture and forgotten relics of the past. But something else was there, too, a presence, palpable and unnerving, that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. And then I saw it, a series of crude symbols etched into the concrete floor, forming a circle around a weathered wooden chair. The air inside the circle felt charged, as if it were pulsing with an energy I couldn't comprehend. A sudden gust of wind swept through the basement, extinguishing the light. I was plunged into darkness, the sound of my own breathing deafening in the silence. Panic set in as I fumbled for my flashlight, the beam finally cutting through the void. As the light swept across the room, I froze. There, in the corner, was a shadow, a figure, indistinct yet menacing, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. A low growl filled the air, vibrating through me like a primal force. I stumbled backward, my mind racing to make sense of what I was seeing. Was this the demon that had tormented Anneliese, the entity that had driven her to madness? Or was it merely the manifestation of fear, a trick of the mind in a place steeped in horror? Before I could decide, the figure vanished, leaving only an oppressive silence in its wake. I scrambled back up the stairs, my heart pounding in my ears, my mind reeling with questions. What was happening here? Was Anneliese truly possessed, or had her mind conjured a terror so great it left a stain on reality itself? As I stepped back into the daylight, I knew I had to find the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. The hotel room felt like a prison, its walls closing in as the wind howled outside, rattling the windows. The young woman in my arms trembled, her eyes darting around the room as if expecting something to leap out of the shadows. Her fear was palpable, infectious, sending shivers down my spine. "What's happening?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the growing panic in my chest. "I've seen it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising storm. "The demon. The one that took Anneliese. It's real. It's still here." Her words sent a chill through me, my mind racing to comprehend the implications. Had I unwittingly stumbled into the path of a force beyond my understanding? Or was this girl just another victim of hysteria, caught up in the terrifying legacy of Anneliese's story? "What's your name?" I asked, trying to ground myself in the reality of the moment. "Eva," she replied, her eyes still scanning the room for unseen threats. "Eva Becker. I came here because I need your help." "How do you know about Anneliese?" I pressed, sensing there was more to her story. "I was her friend," Eva said, tears welling up in her eyes. "We grew up together. I saw what happened to her, the things that couldn't be explained. And now, it's happening to me." Her confession hit me like a punch to the gut. If what she was saying was true, then Anneliese's nightmare was far from over. It was spreading, infecting those closest to her. "What makes you think it's happening to you?" I asked, trying to make sense of the situation. Eva took a deep breath, steadying herself. "It started a few weeks ago. Strange dreams, voices in my head, shadows in the corner of my eye. At first, I thought it was just stress, but then I saw it." Her voice dropped to a whisper, and I leaned in closer, compelled by her fear. "The demon. It showed itself to me. A shadow, a presence that filled the room with cold. It said I was next." The lights flickered again, plunging us into brief darkness before returning with a dim, sputtering glow. I could feel it, the same oppressive energy that had haunted Anneliese's home, now invading my sanctuary. "We need to leave," I said, urgency tinging my voice. "We can't stay here. We need to find out what's really happening." Eva nodded, her fear turning to determination. "There's someone we can talk to. Someone who might know how to stop it." "Who?" I asked, eager for any lead that could unravel this nightmare. "Father Jacob," she replied. "He was a friend of Anneliese's family, a priest who studied demonology. If anyone can help, it's him." As we hurried out of the hotel, the storm outside had grown fiercer, the wind lashing at us with icy tendrils as we made our way through the village. The streets were deserted, the townspeople huddled inside, as if sensing the darkness that loomed over their homes. Father Jacob's church was an ancient stone building on the outskirts of the village, its spire reaching into the stormy sky like a defiant plea for salvation. Inside, the church was dimly lit, the flickering candle flames casting shadows that danced across the walls. Father Jacob was an older man, his face lined with age and wisdom. He greeted us with a nod, his eyes sharp and knowing. "I've been expecting you," he said, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to resonate with authority. Eva and I exchanged a glance, surprised by his words. "You know what's happening?" I asked, eager for answers. "Yes," Father Jacob replied, leading us to a small office filled with books and religious artifacts. "Anneliese's case was unique, but not isolated. There have been others, and I fear the darkness has found a new target." He gestured for us to sit, his demeanor calm yet serious. "Tell me everything you've experienced," he said, looking at Eva with a penetrating gaze. Eva recounted her experiences, her voice steady despite the fear that lingered beneath the surface. Father Jacob listened intently, nodding as she spoke. "The demon you saw, it's not just a figment of your imagination," he said once she finished. "It's a powerful entity, one that thrives on fear and suffering. It feeds on those it marks, spreading its influence like a disease." I shuddered at his words, the implications sinking in. "How do we stop it?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "There are rituals, ancient rites that can weaken its hold," Father Jacob explained. "But you must be prepared for the danger. It will not relinquish its grip easily." He rose from his chair, retrieving a weathered book from a shelf. "We will need faith, courage, and a willingness to confront the darkness within ourselves," he said, opening the book to reveal pages filled with intricate symbols and prayers. As we prepared for the ritual, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were venturing into the unknown, a realm where the line between reality and nightmare was blurred. The shadows in the church seemed to deepen, and I could feel the presence watching, waiting. "Are you ready?" Father Jacob asked, his voice steady, his gaze unwavering. Eva and I exchanged a glance, knowing that this was our only chance to break the cycle of terror. We nodded, determined to face whatever horrors lay ahead. As the ritual began, the air in the church grew heavy, the shadows writhing like living things. The candles flickered wildly, casting grotesque shapes on the walls. Father Jacob's voice rose in a powerful chant, echoing through the chamber like a call to arms. And then, with a deafening roar, the demon appeared, a towering shadow, its eyes burning with malevolent intent. The air vibrated with its presence, a primal fear seizing my heart. The battle had begun, and the fate of our souls hung in the balance. The air in the church was electric, charged with an energy that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The demon's presence was overwhelming, its shadowy form towering over us, eyes gleaming with an unholy light. Father Jacob stood firm, his voice unwavering as he continued the ancient chant, each word a challenge to the darkness that sought to consume us. Eva and I clung to each other, our fear palpable yet overshadowed by a fierce determination. The demon roared, a sound that reverberated through the church like the wail of 1,000 souls, shaking the very foundations of our resolve. It lunged toward us, its form shifting and writhing, as if it were made of living shadows. "Stay strong," Father Jacob shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony. "Do not let it break your spirit." The ritual's words tumbled from his lips like a torrent, filling the space with a force that seemed to push back against the darkness. The demon recoiled, its form flickering as if caught between two worlds. But as the demon hesitated, a wave of fear washed over me, my mind racing with doubts. Was this truly the end of Anneliese's torment, or were we merely pawns in a game we couldn't comprehend? The demon's eyes fixed on mine, and in that moment, I felt an icy tendril worm its way into my thoughts, whispering terrible truths I dared not believe. Images flashed before me, Anneliese's tortured screams, the shadowy figure in the basement, and finally, Eva, standing alone in the dark, her eyes vacant and cold. A chilling realization gripped me. Eva was not just a victim but a conduit, a vessel for the malevolent force that had plagued Anneliese. The demon was using her, drawing strength from her fear, manipulating us all. "Father Jacob," I cried, struggling to make sense of the chaos in my mind. "It's Eva. She's the key." The priest faltered for a moment, his gaze shifting between Eva and the demon. Understanding dawned on his face, a grim recognition of the truth we had been blind to. "Eva," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "You must fight it. You have the power to end this." Eva's eyes widened in terror, her body trembling as the demon's hold tightened. "I can't," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "It's too strong." "You are stronger than you know," Father Jacob insisted, his faith unwavering. "You were chosen for a reason. You have the light within you." As if summoned by his words, a faint glow began to emanate from Eva, growing brighter with each passing second. The demon howled in fury, its form unraveling, the shadows retreating in the face of the light. Eva's expression shifted from fear to determination, her voice steady as she joined Father Jacob in the chant, her words a beacon of hope in the darkness. The air crackled with energy, the power of their combined voices creating a barrier against the demon's assault. The demon shrieked, its shadowy form writhing in agony as the light pierced its defenses. It lashed out desperately, but the barrier held, pushing it back, forcing it to retreat. And then, with one final, ear-splitting roar, the demon vanished, its presence dissipating like smoke in the wind. The church fell silent, the oppressive weight lifted, leaving behind a profound stillness. Eva collapsed to the floor, exhaustion etched into her features, but there was a light in her eyes, a hope, a strength that had not been there before. Father Jacob knelt beside her, his face a mixture of relief and awe. "You did it," he said softly, a rare smile breaking through his solemn demeanor. "You banished the darkness." I stood there, heart racing, mind reeling from the revelation. Anneliese's torment had ended, but at what cost? The demon had been defeated, but its shadow still lingered, a reminder of the darkness that had once claimed a life. As we emerged from the church, the storm had subsided, the sky clearing to reveal a full moon casting its silver light over the village. The air felt fresh and clean, as if washed of the taint that had plagued it. But even as we celebrated our victory, a nagging doubt remained, a question that refused to be silenced. Had we truly vanquished the demon, or had it simply retreated, biding its time for another opportunity to strike? The answer, I feared, lay in the shadows of Anneliese's past, in the secrets we had yet to uncover. After the confrontation in the church, the village began to return to a sense of normalcy, but the lingering questions about Anneliese Michel's fate and the demon that had tormented her weighed heavily on my mind. Eva was recovering, the light in her eyes a testament to the victory she had won, yet a shadow of unease remained. Father Jacob assured us that the demon was gone, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Determined to uncover the full truth, I returned to the Michel household one final time. Anna Michel greeted me with a wary smile, her eyes showing a mixture of hope and weariness. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, but echoes of the past still lingered in the corners, waiting to be unearthed. As I stepped into Anneliese's room, I felt a pull toward the journal I had seen before. The pages beckoned to me with the promise of answers. I sat at the desk and began to read once more, searching for any clue that might illuminate the mystery that had consumed us all. The entries were more chilling than I remembered, each one a testament to Anneliese's struggle against forces beyond her understanding. As I read, I realized there was something I had missed, a final entry, written in a trembling hand, the ink smudged as if by tears. November 1975, they want me to surrender, to give in to the darkness. But I must stay strong. I have seen the truth, the darkness within and without. There is a light, a way to end this, but it requires a sacrifice of innocence. Her words sent a shiver down my spine, the implications sinking in. Anneliese had known all along that her struggle was not just against the demon, but against something deeper, something intertwined with the very fabric of her being. She had seen a way out, a path to salvation, but it had come at a terrible price. Just then, a noise from behind me made me turn, my heart leaping into my throat. The door creaked open, revealing Eva standing there, her expression inscrutable. Her presence was unexpected, a reminder of the bond she shared with Anneliese, and the role she had played in our battle. "Eva," I said, my voice steady despite the growing unease. "Did you know about this? About what Anneliese wrote?" Eva nodded slowly, her eyes clouded with a mix of emotions. "I did," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Anneliese confided in me before the end. She believed there was a way to free herself, but it meant sacrificing herself to the darkness, allowing it to consume her so it couldn't harm anyone else. Her confession hit me like a punch to the gut, the realization dawning that Anneliese's death had not been in vain. She had chosen to give herself over to the demon, to draw it away from the world, ensuring it could never claim another victim." "But why didn't you tell us?" I asked, struggling to comprehend the enormity of her decision. "Because it wasn't over," Eva said, her voice steady but tinged with regret. "The demon wasn't just in her, it was in all of us. It fed on our fear, our doubts. Anneliese knew that, and she hoped that by facing it, she could save us all." A chill ran through me as the pieces fell into place, the truth more horrifying than I had imagined. Anneliese had been both victim and savior, her sacrifice ensuring that the darkness could not spread. But in doing so, she had become a part of it, a martyr for a cause no one could understand. The realization that the demon was not just an external force but a reflection of the darkness within us all was a revelation that shook me to my core. Anneliese's struggle was not just against a supernatural entity but against the shadows of humanity itself. Eva stepped closer, her eyes meeting mine with a fierce determination. "We have to keep fighting," she said, her voice strong. "Anneliese showed us that there is light in the darkness, but it's up to us to keep it alive." Her words resonated with me, a call to arms against the forces that sought to drag us into despair. Anneliese's story was not just a tale of horror but a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to choose the light. As we left the Michel household, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the village. The air felt different, charged with a sense of hope and renewal. Anneliese's sacrifice had not been in vain, and her legacy would live on in those she had saved. But even as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows still lurked, waiting for their chance to return. The demon was gone, but the darkness remained, a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and shadow, good and evil. And so, the story of Anneliese Michel ended not with a resolution, but with a promise to confront the darkness within and without, to stand firm against the forces that sought to consume us, and to carry the light forward into the unknown. The tale of Anneliese Michel would be told for generations to come, a chilling reminder of the battle that rages within us all, and the courage it takes to face our demons and emerge victorious. Thank you for following this journey. Anneliese's story will stay with us, a haunting testament to the power of faith and the strength of the human spirit.